Howdy folks, Code here with Sewjourn Gear. I'm going to show you guys a couple tips on setting up your new Forager pouch. So let's talk about the attachment. These are going to come standard with your short malice clips. These are strong and lightweight. You can use them as belt loops or you can weave them into MOLLE webbing. I'll include a short video on showing you guys how to properly weave these through the MOLLE webbing. So be sure to check that out. Also note, don't use your pocket knife to open up these tabs here. You can easily damage them or cut them. I like to use a flat screwdriver that I've softened the edges on, and then you can get in there and gently raise up that tab and open up the clip like that. So keep that in mind. So that's the malice clips. They can mount into any MOLLE, like on your saw rig or in your messenger bag or Minuteman bag. So pretty slick deal there. Okay, on the toggles up front, you'll see all these different slots. So depending on how much stuff you have in there, you may need to move these toggles up or down, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's make sure we got the camera good here. So what you're gonna wanna do is take that toggle, first of all, play with it, put whatever you're kind of planning on putting in there, and then bring that tab down and kind of see where you think would be the best slot. So once you do that, you can flip this toggle to the inside like this. And then you guys are gonna have to learn the square knot if you don't already know it. It's a very handy knot for all kinds of applications. So I didn't tighten the knot super tight for you guys because I thought that you might be undoing it if you have to move it. So you can go ahead and take that out. If you're gonna move it up or down, you can do that. Now, here's where you're gonna need to know the square knot. So you might have to YouTube how to tie the square knot, but you don't wanna wrench down super tight on the webbing to where you're scrunching it up, but you also don't wanna have it super loose because then this could be a snag hazard, right? So I usually just kind of bend the webbing just a little bit like this, then finish your square knot. And it should look nice and symmetrical like this. And you see it's kind of just bending the webbing just a little bit. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Once you get it just about right, you're gonna wanna snug up on that. Grab that shot cord like this and snug up real tight on it. That's gonna set it up tight. Now you're gonna take your scissors and you're gonna get in there and carefully, you're gonna cut those tails pretty short. See how short that is? And you're gonna take your lighter and carefully, don't melt the bag or burn yourself, but oops. You're gonna wanna burn that tail so that it kind of mushrooms over a little bit, and then that'll help the knot from ever coming out. So I'll do the same thing on the other side. Cut that like so. Whew, hot. Okay, see that? Now, all we have to do is flip that knot to the inside and the toggle to the outside. So that knot is kind of hidden behind the webbing, so it's nice and clean. See that? Now, what's good about that is it's gonna keep the toggle kind of horizontal. See how it kind of snaps back into position so that when you toggle the bag closed, it's going to want to stay like this, and you're gonna still have a little bit of give, which can be nice. Okay, and then you can do the same thing for the bottom side. And if you don't want two toggles, you just want one, of course, you can just untie this. You can just undid it. And then you can just put this in your underwear drawer, set it off to the side in case you need it later. Sometimes I like having two so that when I have like my big shirt in here, it's all the way full. If I don't have a lot of stuff, it's a little bit emptier. So that's the way that I do it. I usually roll two. Now on the back, it's kind of the same concept. Let's see. I might just take these clips off real quick to show you. Yeah. So see how it is on the back? It's just routed up through the stitching here, and then you tie a square knot on top. I guess I can show you just to make sure, but so for instance, the short malice clips take up 3 rows of webbing, and you're going to get the most compression if the toggle is right up under that 3rd row. So all you have to do is take your toggle, thread it up through the stitching, and it'll already come like this. I'm just showing you if you decide to move it up or down or whatever. So you're going to do it like this. Then you're going to tie your square knot. And again, you don't want to pull it super tight to where it's puckering that webbing. So just, you know, just barely snug. Something like that. Kind of play with it and make sure it's just how you want it. That feels pretty good. Okay, then same deal, we're going to wrench down on that. Give it a nice tighten there. Same deal, and you can manipulate the fabric, so because you don't want to cut the webbing, you don't want to damage anything else, so we're going to cut that tail nice and short. Get in there with our lighter. Make sure, see how the flame is going away from the bag so we don't melt it. We're going to go like that. Nice little nail head there to keep our knot from coming undone. Same thing on the other side. Take your time and be careful. Same deal here. A little bit more. There we go. And you can just leave it like that. You could poke this down into that webbing slot if you wanted that knot to be hidden. For example, there we go. See that? Now the knot is hidden behind the webbing there, so it even looks a little bit more clean. So you can do that for sure. And then, of course, you can reinstall your malice clips. Okay, pretty easy there. Now, anything else? When you're manipulating the toggle, just think of it like the toggle wants to open when this is vertical. So when you want to open it, just turn it vertical like this, and then just lightly press it through this little buttonhole here. And then, of course, just kind of feed it through. And then horizontal is locked, vertical is open. Just kind of keep that in mind. So that's how you do the toggle. The shock cord on the inside, you can cinch this up or let it out, whatever works for you. And then on, if you ever have this big long tail, you can always tie up a bunch of knots. You can kind of stow that cord. Let's see. It might be able to daisy chain it a little bit. You know, something like this so it's not so long and floppy if you always want it cinched up like that. So that's a little thing you can do. Otherwise, if you are kind of bringing it in and out a lot, you know, like you'll have it open a lot, but then you want to cinch it down a lot too, which I tend to do a lot. And you want this, I've found you can just tuck it in where the cord lock little strap is. Can you see that? You can kind of just feed it down through there, and that's going to keep the tail just a little bit more like going down into the pouch, so it doesn't kind of, you know, just like ride on the outside. That's going to make adjusting it just a little bit trickier, but then it does kind of tend to keep that tail down to the inside. So, you know, feel free to play with that if you want. Otherwise, the quickest way is to kind of just let it ride like this, you know, and then you can adjust it out or whatever you need to do. So that's playing with that. Don't forget about your other tie down on the inside. Get a nice webbing loop here. You could run a carabiner and tie off anything that you didn't want to lose. And I guess we could just talk about rolling the pouch up and stowing it. So I usually, when I stow it, I usually kind of cinch up on the shock cord to keep the top a little bit compressed in. And then you can kind of just roll the pouch up like this. and then toggle it back here. And then that's gonna kind of keep it nice and tidy up out of the way until you need it. So there you go, gang. That is the Forager pouch. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you for your support and have a great day.